Across Atlanta and across the globe, hundreds of volunteers are quietly transforming lives through food, education, health, and compassion. This is the story of Sewa International Atlanta.
My name is Madhav Durbha. I am the president of Sewa Atlanta's local chapter. In my role, I work very closely with our Sewa national team and implement the guidelines we receive from the national team, but also lead community impact projects that are happening in the Atlanta area.
Hi, my name is Radhakrishna. I'm Atlanta Chapter's Vice President. In my role, I support Madhav in achieving Atlanta's mission and our goals here locally.
Sewa means service, selfless service. Sewa is a Hindu faith-based organization, Sewa International USA, and we're a 501c3. The organization started in 2003. And our motto is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning the whole world is one family. We have to serve whoever deserving help, regardless of their race, religion, gender, nationality, or any differences that exist. We need to take care of people who deserve and need help. And Sewa International has a broad presence across the globe, about 25 countries or so. And also locally within USA, we have 46 chapters, Atlanta being one of them. Main area that Sewa International focuses on is disaster relief. Whether it is war in Ukraine, floods in Chennai, or floods in North Carolina, Sewa is always there and is stepping up and helping out people. From a disaster relief perspective, one thing that put Sewa on the map is our work during COVID relief, especially during the second wave of COVID in India and across the globe. There was a tremendous amount of work that was done, and we shipped over 10,000 oxygen concentrators at that time to India. So something that's just an example of the scale and reach of Sewa International, the globe. What do we do during times when there is no disaster? We focus on a lot of local community impact activities. What specifically we do in Atlanta, we can get into that as part of the conversation.
So locally in Atlanta, we focus on three key aspects. One is primary education K through 8. The other one is healthcare. And the third one is food insecurity. One of the key things in Atlanta is K through 8 education. We tutor about 200 students. It's an online tutoring program where we have tutors who help them Monday through Thursday. And we have an enrichment program on Saturday. We have about 25-30 students who attend the enrichment program. The key thing is these students come from families where their parents don't speak English. And having the support is crucial and critical for their academic success and succeeding in life as well. What is also critical is when these kids can finish their homework and go back to school and say that they did finish the homework gives them a lot of confidence. So we feel in this way it is very critical for these communities which would not have had any kind of support for their kids between K through 8 students.
I think one additional comment I want to make there is we also run summer camp for these children. This year we had a summer camp. Over 50 students registered in the summer camp and showed up and participated. A couple of things we taught them as part of general skills is violin and ballet. Many of these kids never even touched a violin in their life. This was the first time touching violin, and towards the end of the summer camp, we had a program where they were able to play violin, and of course, they were in beginner stages, but they were able to play violin, and we were fortunate to have found a sponsor who was willing to rent out those violins for the duration of the summer camp. So they had that exposure. It opens up their minds and it opens up their eyes to possibilities that they wouldn't have been exposed to. Ballet is another one of those. And it was very heartwarming and gratifying to see these youngsters perform as a talent showcase towards the end of the summer camp.
Soft skills. When it comes to healthcare, we are partnered with the Georgia Association of Physicians of Indian Heritage, and we run a free clinic in Global Mall on 1st and 3rd Saturdays, and we see about 10 to 15 patients a week. Last year we served about 350 patients who were primarily uninsured and underinsured. And when it comes to food insecurity, we do a sandwich seva. We are partnered with Salvation Army. Once a month, we serve people who are there in the Salvation Army or depend on Salvation Army. We make sandwiches and serve them dinner. And we also distribute food. We distribute groceries. Primarily, we focus on providing nutritious food, focus on produce, vegetables, fruits, lentils, and not just focus on providing canned foods.
So Atlanta, if you take Atlanta chapter as an example, we are fortunate to have several hundred volunteers who come together for variety of events, one of the largest being our Holi event, annual Holi event, but of which I would say about 20 to 30 people who are form core of the volunteers who are engaged on an ongoing basis. Not only that they are engaged on an ongoing basis, some of the programs that Raji is referring to, these individuals take leadership and ensuring that the delivery of those activities is happening. So we have a number of volunteers who are committed on an ongoing basis. Then there are a larger pool of volunteers who come together for major events and are always standing behind Sewa. And sometimes what happens is organically some of these who come and serve us on a transactional basis, they end up taking more active interest and start taking on more active responsibilities within Sewa. We have pretty much created a very open culture and open mindset in terms of how much of our time that one can give. It is up to them, right? But being able to make the best of that time is our responsibility. That is one. The other thing we feel very, very happy about is the culture that we built within Sewa International Atlanta Chapter, as well as the organization in general. A lot of the volunteers we have serving with us they're like electric current, right? You don't miss it until the power goes off. So in that sense, they are there, they are behind the scenes, they are working, not necessarily seeking spotlight for themselves, but doing what is right for the community. That is one thing that we had done. And the last but not the least is continuity of the leadership is very important, right? Making sure that we are finding these leaders, start giving them some responsibility, maybe for an activity, maybe for a project, and then evolve it into a program. And then eventually they step up and take leadership roles within the Atlanta chapter, as well as from there they move on to play larger roles within the national chapter as well. One example is my predecessor, Atlanta chapter president Srikanth Gundavarapu. Now he's the president of Sewa International USA. So that continuity of leadership is very important because it helps ensure that we stay true to the mission and the culture of the organization is preserved. So Sewa International has a formal program called LEAD for high schoolers. What LEAD is essentially, it is a leadership program for high schoolers, actually 8th grade and above, 8th grade to their senior year in high school, where they get to experience various local community impact initiatives, and they come and actively volunteer under adult supervision and adult mentorship. So that mentorship and supervision provides them an opportunity to not only do the service, but get the broader context on why this service is impact and what the impact on the community is. What we see with these children is, of course, they've earned Presidential Volunteer Service Awards, and their Sewa itself provides certificates for the number of hours that they served. And of course, it helps them in their college application process, right? But beyond that, what we see with these children is they start to experience through their service the impact that service has on the community. It helps them be better leaders. It helps them develop a peripheral vision in terms of just looking beyond yourself and your selfish interests. How can I serve the broader community, right? So it's very gratifying to see these young children get engaged in 8th grade and 9th grade and grow with the organization and grow into leaders. And we have several children that went through the LEAD program. Now they had moved on to take on leadership roles within their other pursuits as well, and making a community impact in their own way. So we believe that the sense of giving back and the sense of service need to be instilled at a very young age. One doesn't need to wait until they're very successful in their life and career and then come back to make an impact. These young children pick that up at a very young age in their formative years, and then move on to do wonderful things and become leaders in our communities and beyond.
One thing I want to add to this is the LEAD program, a lot of our kids are fortunate. They don't have to experience difficulties in life. This exposes them to the needs of the society. Going through this program, when they finish up these 3 years or 4 years of this program, they become more empathetic towards the less fortunate. And we feel that's a valuable thing for these kids to learn when they're in high school, and they can be better citizens when they're adults, and they can give back to the community a lot more.
Actually, we have leads. That's a great point. In fact, we have leads volunteering in our summer camp that we talked about earlier. And one of the things that happens organically and very naturally, is that the lines blur. It's very hard to say who is the beneficiary here, right? Raji and myself sitting here, we are beneficiaries actually. We are able to have the opportunity to serve these communities and get gratification out of the fact that it just helps us grow. And in the same sense, these lead students that are serving, they themselves are beneficiaries. They themselves realize that they're having a much more positive growing experience, and they build these skills of building bridges across the community. So who is benefiting and who is giving? The giver and taker, those personas converge in a very, very interesting ways through the work that we do.
One thing that we started last year was a program called Spoken English Program. Basically, our lead students work with students in India who don't speak English, and the reason this program was critical is people there felt having reasonable working knowledge of English is critical for their success, even if they're brilliant kids. So we started working in this with this program, and we had about 12 students. It was a pilot program. Initially, our students from the US, our lead students, were getting frustrated because students on the other hand would have to get out of the call, come back, join, and so on and so forth. Quickly after a few sessions, they realized they're working with their parents' phone. They're not working on a laptop, they don't have an iPad. And they also saw that these kids were working from shack, but they were willing to learn, and their parents were working in the background. Very quickly, we have heard stories from our lead students' parents saying, my kids are beginning to realize how fortunate they are. There's no way they could have realized this, and there's no way we could have instilled this. So there are these lessons that we learn. And to me, what was really heartwarming was one of the kids said, look, when we were working with these kids in Bangalore, they started with addressing them as sir, and then they became Anna, and then finally when the program ended, they were bros. So that was really impressive, and there were these relationships that was built. And another kid told me, I have cousins in Bangalore, I have relatives in Bangalore, now I have friends in Bangalore. So this is the impact. This is where our kids have become beneficiaries from this program, giving back to the community. So last year, if you look at some of the numbers, we had about one of the programs that we execute here is LEAD program. It's a leadership program for high schoolers. We had about 100 students who actively participated in that, and about 40 of them got the PBSC award. That's the President's Voluntary Service Award. When it comes to food drive, we served about 400 families last year, and when in the health camp on the healthcare, we served about 350 patients. Like I mentioned, many of them would not have seen a physician but for this program. We also have a senior club where we have senior citizens who gather twice a month. We have about 60 of them who attend that. We have 3 different centers where we run this. We feel that we give them an avenue to exchange views. They enjoy those couple of hours twice a month when they meet. Also, from a volunteering standpoint, one of the things that we do is foster volunteerism. In Atlanta, we had about 300 volunteers who probably altogether put over 10,000 hours in service last year. But the key thing is, these are all measurable outcomes, but when we look at the impact, like Madhavji mentioned about the summer camp, we put a smile on many of these kids' face during those 6 weeks of program that we had. And parents were excited to send these kids to these camps, and they always ask us, how can we continue this next year? So those are really some of the impact that we look for, and we hope that all these outcomes, positive outcomes towards these communities add up and create this impact, whether we see it or not.
Mind is when we started this online program for these children, especially children of the immigrant families, there are a lot of things that we take for granted in life, right? One of the things is, we start an online program and they will join, and it was actually not happening. Or even when they join, they drop in the middle. We started peeling the onion a bit and see what's going on here. What we realized is that a lot of these families have one device that they all share. Oftentimes these children are joining using their parents' phones. So we came to the realization that they need help, and immediately we were able to arrange Chromebooks for these children. We were able to find sponsors who were willing to give Chromebooks, and we were able to arrange Chromebooks for these children. And that made a significant difference in terms of enrollment, in terms of engagement, in terms of the students staying the course. And the difference is tangible, right? In terms of their improvement of their grades, improvement in terms of softer skills like their confidence levels and so on. So in fact, at this point in time, we have volunteers who work with these children. These children come and hug them, right? Summer camp, I talked about earlier. At the end of the day, at around 3:30 or so, when their parents come to pick them up, they don't want to leave. They want to hang around there, right? So that's the kind of experience we're able to deliver. But the biggest learning is things that we take for granted in our daily lives. There are vast majority of the world's population cannot take it for granted. So that was a big learning.
I want to add something else. In the healthcare sector, we had some challenges too. We felt primary healthcare is needed, and a lot of people may not be able to afford it. Although we provide it for free, reaching out to communities, immigrant communities, in our case, Spanish-speaking Hispanic communities, we had to build trust. Just because we were willing to provide free service doesn't mean they're going to come. So we had to build partnership, build bridges with communities, Hispanic communities and leaders. That's one. The other challenge we run into is, again, we don't think about some of these things. When Hispanic patients come to our clinic, our physicians don't speak Spanish. So we had to work with other organizations that were helping us with interpreters. So this also helps us build partnership with other organizations and helps us, truly acts as a force multiplier when it comes to impact.
There is another learning that I might add to what Raji was talking about is primary care. We take it for granted that, okay, the doctor prescribes some labs and then you're going to go get labs done, right? It's not as simple as that. when they go to get their labs done, the labs are expensive to get done, right? Especially if we are talking about uninsured or underinsured patients. So one of the things that we give a lot of credit to GAPI and Dr. Srini Gangasani and the work that he's leading, they were able to negotiate discounted laboratory fees. And we were also able to raise funds through a 5K we organized where we can supplement where patients can't pay anything at all. We are willing to supplement and make sure that their labs are covered. So these are things that we don't see until we get into doing the impact work. So that was one of the learnings as well.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to that. The reason we did that 5K was this was like the last mile problem, right? We have volunteers, physicians, and patients coming together providing service, but if they cannot take the medication or if they cannot do the labs, pretty much everybody's effort goes waste. So that was the reason we did that 5K and fundraising, and we thought we should subsidize both the diagnostics and any medications that they needed.
You're talking about last mile problem and 5K. Pun is fully intended, I assume. So for any nonprofit to operate successfully, you need 3 T's: time, talent, and treasure. Right? Time and talent comes from our volunteers, and we are fortunate to have a lot of volunteers who bring the 3rd T as well, right? The treasure. So we are blessed to have several donors, many donors. In fact, just at the Atlanta chapter level, last year we did a fundraiser, and we have over 150 donors who wrote checks to Sewa International. We are thankful for their contributions. But what we also do is to make sure that every dollar is spent in a very thoughtful, very responsible manner. Some of those go towards local impact activities. Some of those go towards a number of initiatives that we support across the globe. I will talk about that a little bit more as we zoom out into some of the global impact activities. So donor funds are a major source. A lot of them happen to be repeat donors, and they stuck with us, and the total number of donors has been increasing year over year. The other source of funding comes from government grants. The government grants are essentially AmeriCorps is a major source of funds for us, has been. The K through 8 program that Raji was talking about, that is funded by AmeriCorps. Of course, we need to put up as a matching grant from Sewa International itself. That's where our donor contributions come into play. So it's a combination of the donor funds we use towards matching grants and then government grants that we get. Government grants come with strings attached, rightfully so. We have to be thorough in our reporting. We have to be thorough in terms of showing the impact, measuring the impact, showing the metrics as well. One other very interesting thing about these government grants is one of the programs we talked about, K through 8 education. The other program is we have a grant called the 9/11 Service Grant. What we do as part of that is, of course, 9/11 meaning September 11th. We all understand, how it's a defining moment in the US history. The grant is geared towards developing service mindset, volunteerism within communities with demonstrable impact on environmental impact as well. So it's a nice way of bringing together volunteer development within communities, showing leadership through volunteerism, but also weaving in projects that will have meaningful environmental impact. As part of that, we do a number of programs like park cleanups. We do adopt a road program that is outside of the grant but still contributes meaningfully towards environmental impact. Recently, we executed a project where we planted over 50 plants and many shrubs to make Collie Creek Park in Johns Creek even more beautiful. So Sewa is very honored to have that opportunity. We do these environmental projects throughout the year, but all of those culminate around September 11th, where we bring together the community to celebrate the impact that the first responders had in responding to the tragic events surrounding September 11th. Not only that, in terms of mitigating damage, they're putting their own lives at risk. But on an ongoing basis, every single day, these first responders are putting the community's interest in front of their own personal safety and security. So it's a way of celebrating the impact that the first responders are having on our local communities. So that is another example of a government grant that is being put to very good use. So these are the donor funds, and the government grants tend to be two major sources that we draw in. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, we also have corporate coming in and sponsoring events that adds to the funding source, which helps us deliver on local projects.
So if you're a corporation, major corporation, or a startup or mid-sized company, it doesn't matter. If you want to bring your own employees, you may have employee resource groups, and you want to bring your own employees and do a community impact activity, Sewa would be very happy to collaborate with you. I just wanted to share. Over the last few years, we have been conducting our holy event in the month of March at Cumming Fairgrounds. And City of Cumming and Forsyth County have been terrific partners with us in making sure we deliver a tremendous experience to our attendees. Last year, I think we had many thousands of people participating in the event. And over the years, actually, it's been consistent in how we are drawing in the community. Holi, as you know, is celebrated as a Hindu festival, but increasingly it is turning more and more into community event. We are able to attract lots of people of different walks of life, people of different nationalities and ethnic backgrounds. They come enjoy the wonderful Indian food, they come and enjoy the music, and they dance to their heart's content and put colors on each other. The beauty of celebrating with these colors is that once everybody is colored up, there are no differences. They all look the same. They may be in different sizes and shapes, but they all look the same, right? The divisions within our community disappear. It's a great way of bringing the community together and celebrating the unity in our diversity and our diverse backgrounds. But it is also a way of building awareness around Sewa and the community impact activities that we take on. So that's the reason why we do the event. It is a way of doing community outreach from Sewa's standpoint.
And one thing I'd like to add, this has become such a popular event. The last 2 years, Starbucks shows up in the mornings of these events and gives us coffee and pastry. So we thank them for what they've done the last couple of years.
The other thing also is Tesla shows up. Tesla showed up with their cars, and their cars are all colored up, and these corporations see the value, right? It is law of large numbers. They see value. They want to give back. They also want to engage. It is great for their brand presence. And we do get number of sponsors. Again, we tend to run our holy event more on a break-even basis. We cover the costs of that through sponsorships, but it's a way of getting the word out to the community, but also celebrating the diversity within the communities that we live in. So for me, I'm in the profession of supply chain tech. I'm a leader at a company, and for the better part of my career, I spent focusing on my career, right? It was all about me and securing the future of my family. Then, as luck has it, when COVID happened, a lot of us were homebound. My wife happens to be a physician, and we were running short on masks and gloves and things like that, the personal protective equipment at her clinic. And one of the physician friends reached out and said, you want any PPE? There is this organization called Sewa International. They're reaching out to physicians and they're making masks and delivering them to the local physicians. She said, absolutely, we would need some. And then a day later, I had a knock on the door and a Sewa volunteer showed up, Vivek Srivastav, and he handed out the PPE. And we were so touched and moved. Here is an individual who's putting their own safety and health at risk and helping the community. I said, what can I do? Can we write a check or anything like that? He said, no, we don't need any money. We are here to thank you for your service as physician. That's what he told my wife. And that was my first introduction to Sewa. Later on, I reached out to the Sewa leadership and they said, we have a need here where people are homebound, they're stuck at home. So can we do something to promote healthy living within the community? Because physical health and mental health when you're stuck at home is very important. So what I started doing is I started hosting some webinars every 2 weeks, hosting webinars, bringing in endurance athletes, bringing in healthcare experts, and getting the word out in taking care of oneself. We had this program called Self, right? Sleep, exercise, living in the present, and food. Those were the themes around which these webinars were structured. So I took a lot of active interest and I started volunteering with Sewa, and one thing led to another and led me into a leadership role now. So that's my story.
My story is a little different. Shrikant Gunduvarappu, who is the current president of Sewa International USA, is a good friend of mine. He had reached out to me during COVID. I was not actively involved in Sewa in those days for some fundraising, and we did what we could do at that time. So a couple of years later, he and Yashwanji dropped in and they were suggesting that I should probably jump in and come do some volunteering and take the responsibility of a vice president in Atlanta. My wife was sitting there and she was saying, I'm an entrepreneur. So he said, you're always stuck with business or business related activities. It's time for you to do something, give back to the community. And Shrikant and Yashwanji mentioned, oh, it's just a couple of hours of work, and that got my wife's attention, and he said, a few hours a week is not a big deal. So I reluctantly jumped in because I knew a couple of hours won't cut it. It's like getting into a new role in a new organization, in a leadership role. It takes a while to get to know the culture, get to know what this organization is about. Luckily for me, I had Vivek Srivastavji, who was the then coordinator. He was my mentor. He walked me through how the organization works, and he spent not 2 hours a week, more, like 5-6 hours a week for months together for me to get the hang of what was going on in Sewa and how I could be useful. So one thing led to another. I got to know the organization. What was really heartwarming was when I got to know the people, whether it's Madhavji, Shrikantji, they were leaders who were serving selflessly. And that was truly, truly inspiring for me. I also realized while there's a Hindu faith-based organization, the inspiration came from the religion, and that's where it stopped. Everything else was pure service. How we could serve these communities. So I learned a lot from our existing leadership and from our volunteers who were truly, truly selfless. They would be willing to do anything, anytime if somebody needed help. It opened my eyes to what giving back to the community is. I've heard a lot about selfless service. Without being a part of Sewa, I would not have experienced or really understood what that meant. So I'm really thankful for the organization for giving me this opportunity and this journey. I've learned a lot, I'm still learning a lot, and working with our donors, didn't know that people had such a big heart to help the community. So it's been a fantastic journey for me. I've made a lot of friends, which I others would not have made. So I'm very, very thankful.
I think there is another comment I want to add as well. We all have been, most of us in the Indian diaspora, we are blessed to have good careers, reasonably comfortable lives. There comes a moment and there comes a point in our lives where there would be a realization. It happened to me through my engagement with Sewa, is that we are all here. Once our basic needs are met, there is a higher purpose that we should all be striving towards, right? In my dictionary, there is no self-made. We are all products of our mentors, our families, our teachers, a lot of people that took active interest. I can't go back in time and pay them back. This is a way of paying it forward and make the world a better place. So that's what brings us together to serve.
I have the same experience. It was the realization that I had that, when we are successful, it's not just you doing it. There are so many people who are involved in it, right from your parents and friends and teachers. In my case, my first customers, right, people who trusted me, my employees who trusted me when we started out. So the only way we can, give it back is pay forward, like Madhavji mentioned. And truly, I realized some of these things and learned these things working with these wonderful people in this organization.
So speaking about being very execution oriented, Sewa International was one of the first organizations to recognize the problem when the second wave of COVID started in India. We were able to secure supply of oxygen concentrators from a manufacturer in Alabama. And of course, later on, we found other sources of supply as well. We immediately went and secured as much supply as we can get. That was step number one, right? Again, talking about taking one step at a time. Then we had to airlift those oxygen concentrators. We're talking about thousands of oxygen concentrators. I get a call on a Saturday evening saying that we have secured the supply. The oxygen concentrators are coming into a warehouse in Atlanta. We need to airship these and move them over to India. And through my network, I reached out to UPS, and UPS Foundation immediately by Sunday afternoon, I'm just talking about the velocity with which the world comes together when there is a tragedy. UPS Foundation stepped in and said, we will help you airlift these oxygen concentrators free of cost. Imagine shipping thousands of oxygen concentrators free of cost, right? So we were able to secure that. Now customs clearance at India's end. And we were able to work very closely with the central government in India, and they made sure everything is done very smoothly. Then need-based deployment of oxygen concentrators across India, right? So that is a massive logistical undertaking in itself. At every step of the way, it is not just Sewa International doing the work, it is the generosity of the people, the donors coming together, and being able to have the foresight to secure these oxygen concentrators, and then our personal networks and our connections coming to bear, the likes of UPS Foundation stepping in and airlifting. You have to, there is no other way to explain this than when you have a motive, when you have the desire to do the right thing, the whole world comes together to support you, right? This is just one example of that. So that's just a...
To me, I've never run into a group of people. I've been running this business for 27 years, right? I run into all kinds of people. I work with politicians and so on. But I think this group of people, they're pretty close to me because they're unique, right? We have differences. It's not like we don't have any differences, but they're genuine. Everybody who comes here to serve, they serve. They're not looking for anything else. At least that's been my experience. And that's truly heartwarming. And you learn as an individual, you learn, you grow. And you begin to see that the world is a much better place because of people.
Relief and rehab. Mm-hmm. The hardest thing to do is the rehab aspect of it. Because rescue and relief, some of the adrenaline can get you through that, right? You're engaged there and you're trying to help out. The community is coming together. Everybody is there. But what happens is once the immediate need passes, people start moving on to their day-to-day lives and so on and so forth. And then a community is left behind. This is the reason why we see rehab is the most difficult phase, right? It requires persistence. It requires you staying the course, not for a day or 2 days or weeks. It could be months and years out. So if you think about it, one example that comes to my mind is there was an earthquake in Rajasthan in the early 2000s. Lots of families lost their livelihood at the time. What Sewa International was able to do is to engage those women at Rajasthan and teach them life skills, right? Making clothes, making garments and things like that. And now what they're able to do is to rebuild their communities, especially when women get involved and they take active interest, the whole family comes together. And what they were able to do is to rebuild their communities. Now they have life skills that they can pass on to generations. And in fact, what I'm wearing here right now, what I'm wearing, the vest I'm wearing, and what Raji is wearing is made by some of these women in India as part of their skills development programs. So, that's just an example that comes to my mind. That's why I say rehab is the hardest part, because you have to stay with the community. You have to continue engaging with that community. So, given our track record with disaster response and helping out with recovery efforts, FEMA does reach out to us, and we are one of the registered organizations with FEMA. So anytime disaster strikes, of course, we're not sitting and waiting for that call to come through. As I talked about, Sewa has got a vast network, and we mobilize our resources on the ground, right? And start getting engaged, and then organizations come together and provide that support. But that's how we engage. We are still on book 1, chapter 1, page 1. That's how I see it. A lot of wonderful things have been done, but I think much more work remains. There are a lot more problems in the world to be solved than anybody can lay their hands on right now. Increasingly, what we are seeing is that we can't do it alone. We can't do it all by ourselves. We need to partner. We need to engage other parties that have skills in certain areas. Just looking at it locally within the Atlanta area, there is a reason why GAPI and Sewa came together in terms of free clinic, because they bring the clinical skill sets and the medical know-how. We bring the volunteers, and we bring the bridges to the community, right? Where I see Sewa International is going is we are building an ecosystem of partnerships. So it becomes a force multiplier. Fast forward 5-10 years, Sewa International would be known as the place for anybody who is seeking help to reach out to. And the way we are going to deliver that help is not just by Sewa International itself, by bringing in the right partner into the mix. And together, we can address these societal problems that we are dealing with. So that's where we see Sewa International is going. That's the way to scale, to tackle the magnitude of the problems that are ahead of us.
I share Madhavji's vision. One thing I'd like to add to that is all our work, all our volunteering, trying to serve the communities in need, we wish and hope that we inspire youngsters and others to come help out the communities that need. It doesn't matter whether it's Sewa International or any other volunteering organization. So if we can foster volunteerism in our communities, whichever way that might work out, I think that'll be another way to scale this whole volunteering program and help the communities that need.